Anachronisms are another sign of pseudepigraphical authorship. Does the writer show that he wasn't really there because he's got facts mixed up? Like if you're watching Mad Men on AMC, they're trying to make it look like you are in the mid-60s, but the secretaries are using IBM Selectrics. They didn't have those at the time. They did shortly thereafter, but they didn't look like that. One of them is talking about a paperback novel. I think it's Lady Chatterley's Lover. I remember that being very controversial. Mad Magazine did some kind of jokes about it when I was a kid. And they have them ostensibly, one of the secretaries holding up a kind of beat up copy of it, but paperback. She's holding up a paperback from the 80s or 90s. It's too thick. It has a kind of embossed cover that paperbacks didn't have at the time. That's an anachronism. Well, again, to take 2 Peter, you've got all kinds of anachronisms in there. It tries to commend Paul and to protect him from Paulinists, whom the so-called Peter opposes. And he says what's a surprise that these unstable people twist the writings of our beloved brother Paul the same as they do the other scriptures. Hold on a minute. Simon Peter already knows of a collection of the Pauline epistles, and he's writing before the tradition at least places the death of Peter and Paul at the same time at the command of Nero between 60 and 62. Already there's a collection. You can speak of people who are interpreting or misinterpreting a bunch of Pauline epistles, and they're considered scripture, just as they do the other scriptures. Not in the time of Simon Peter. It says, you must remember how your apostles predicted that in the last days scoffers would come, scoffing, which is why we call them scoffers, and they'd be laughing and saying, where's this second coming? Where's the promise of his coming? Ever since the fathers fell asleep, everything's continued in the same way until today. Wait a minute. What is this? What is happening now with scoffers was long ago predicted by your apostles. Wait a minute, I thought you were one of the apostles. Oh, yeah, right. He let the mask slip. For a moment, the writer is writing as himself. He wouldn't have Peter. He wouldn't pose as a guy that of an earlier generation who had made a prophecy now being fulfilled. And so on. So you got problems with this. Another sign of pseudepigraphical writing would be the use of sources in what seems to be wanting to be taken as simply a spontaneous letter. And in 2 Peter chapter 2, almost the whole epistle of Jude is reproduced word for word. Why would you do that? It just seems utterly pointless unless somebody is trying hard to come up with scriptural sounding stuff to pad out a fake letter from Peter. And so on. References to the scene of writing are another giveaway, where novelistically the writer is subtly trying to help you imagine the writer or the pretended writer going about his work as if it were in a novel. I think of a good one that appears in Galatians and other Pauline epistles, where it says, "See with what large handwritten letters I'm closing this." Of course, that's because of my ocular affliction and so on. It's the sign of authenticity in all my letters. Oh, come on. Don't you see what's happening there? He's protesting too much. The statement itself reveals that there are plenty of fake letters attributed to Paul going around, but this isn't one of them, because I've taken the trouble, as you can see, to write in big letters. Secretary has written the rest of it at my dictation, but I'm signing it in these big letters. If you were one of the recipients in Galatia and you're looking at this thing, you don't need to be told that the letters are big. Right? It's because the writer knows there is no such Pauline original. What he is trying to foist on the readers is purportedly a later copy. Oh, you've never seen the Epistle to the Galatians? Here it is. This is an attempt to get you to think Paul wrote this. Wait a minute, Bryce, you're saying Galatians is pseudepigraphical? Yeah, you must know me by now, right? As Jesus says in the last temptation of Christ, didn't they tell you I'm the saint of blasphemy? I'm a latter-day member of the Dutch radical school. I don't think that any historical Paul wrote any of the epistles attributed to him.